I wanted to show off a automatic fish farm that I had made. Note that it is technically semi-automatic because public events still fuck it up, but because it is written in Python, it is able to look at the screen and determine when you have a fish. In order to install this, you just have to download both the fish.py and requirements.txt. Make sure you have Python installed. Make sure it's installed to path. And then you just want to go ahead and run pip install tac-r requirements.txt. This will be in the GitHub, which is linked below. You'll see here that it says that everything I need is already installed, but you should see a whole bunch of installing, and then you should be good to go. So, get to your fishing spot. And I find that standing in the middle of the water has the best results because this is mostly monotone. And then you're going to want to take your script, run it, it'll start counting down, alt-tab into the game, throw your line, and just sit back and wait. So as a breakdown of how this works, essentially it is every tick taking a screenshot around where usually it would say catch fish, and technically perfect catch, but it is taking a screenshot in that little tiny area each frame and then checking to see the value of the pixels. So it is converting it to black and white with a certain threshold, and then it is adding up the value of those black and white pixels, and then coming out with a number that is giving the estimated range of the white value. Because the text is white, whenever the text for catching comes up, it is clearly more white. So it is able to then determine that, hey, there is a fish, reel it in. Some known issues. A lot of fish around where the text would be can visually clutter it and give it a lot of false positives. You can move your mouse and that should fix it. And since it's semi-AFK, you should make sure that if it doesn't recast the line, that you recast it yourself. If it doesn't recast the line, then it's going to get used to the view, and then it's not going to ever recast it unless something drastic happens, which can lead to you getting kicked for AFK. And when you get kicked for AFK, you don't pick up any of your fish for some fucking reason. Other than those limitations, works great. Very rarely will it catch it too early, but it's just unlucky. So how it works is it'll import all of these modules. The failsafe for PY auto GUI is on true. So if you ever want to end the script, you just have to flick your mouse up to the corner of your screen or close the script itself, but flicking your mouse up should end it. Get fish is just a script for really quickly holding down E. It holds it down long enough that it'll recast it after because it'll trigger once or twice. Get image. This is grabbing a screenshot around where the perfect catch text is. If you have a bigger monitor, you're going to want to change that just by taking a screenshot and then using paint to find the coordinates. But it's a small little window. This is set up for a 1080p monitor or 1080p resolution in game. It does a good bit of converting. It converts the image to black and white, sets the threshold, does all of this bullshit, and then prints out the data sum and then returns it. So it'll give you a 5-second countdown before it starts looking. So you want to alt-tab in, cast your fishing rod. It will then get the image, which is just this function, which will then, return the first data image to make sure that things are working. It will then set the prior to 0, prior is a value determined to keep the last value, and then it starts looping. So grabs the base image, sleeps for 0.01 seconds, and then checks to see if the base image is greater than prior plus 5 or less than the prior minus 5. If it is, then that is a drastic change, and it will determine that, hey, there's a fish. It also checks for minus 5 because of the Vex milk, since that is pretty white. If it then sees no fish, it's just going to set the base image as prior and then keep rolling. As you can see here, this is what I was talking about with the numbers. It is actively looking for the color value of them as black and white added together. And you can see here that there was a sudden spike, and it determined that there was a fish, so it just reeled it in.